NTV.
Thank you for keeping it here on NTV. Stephen Imbide on Fefeswe Chibuga. Right now, I'm coming to you from Chisenyi, and this is one of the offices of Segawa Market. And this market is one of the businesses that are managed and run by Haruna Sentongo, the CEO of Haruna Enterprises. And I'm with him here. He's one of the few landlords who have given a waiver to the tenants in Kampala. He runs some arcades and malls in Kampala, but he is one of the few who have given waiver to the tenants. Others are still demanding that the tenants have to comply, have to pay the rent charges for the 4 months they've been under lockdown, and this has not gone well with the main traders and the tenants in Kampala. They are demonstrating from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because on Tuesday the president lifted the lockdown on the arcades and they were allowed to reopen. But Mr. Sentongo here, Haruna, who is the CEO of Haruna Enterprises, gave the waiver to many of his, over 500 of them, a waiver to these traders to allow them to reopen without paying a penny. Good morning, Mr. Sentongo.
Good morning, sir.
First of all, what prompted you, what inspired you to give these tenants a waiver while other landlords are saying that they have to first pay before they reopen their arcades?
Actually, to me, it was not even up for discussion whether I should give my tenants time and allowance for them to actually cope up with the effects of COVID-19. It seemed so obvious to me that these people needed the extra hand. So actually, I'd not only give 3 months for the last COVID-19 months, but actually, I'm also giving in 3 months to new tenants that come into Segawa Market.
For you, it sounded so obvious, but for many business people, many landlords downtown in the city center, they are saying that, no, this is not obvious. KCC is demanding a property tax. Umeme is demanding for electricity bills. And of course, banks, some of them are having loans. They constructed these arcades with money from banks. They are saying the banks are on their necks. They want them to pay the money that has been accruing to them. But for you, you give them a waiver. Does it really make sense for a landlord to forget the 4 months of rent and then he has to pay? Does it make sense?
Actually, government of Uganda already instructed Bank of Uganda to restructure all people's loans. All loans of all borrowers in Uganda were ordered to be restructured. Now with the restructure, landlords have to consent to restructured amounts, whatever it is, for every landlord individually. So landlords have already got benefit. Government has already provided benefit to the landlords. So landlords should actually be able to pass on something to the tenants. It is just that no one is talking about it and no one is being clear about it. But restructures were already given by government. Instructions were given by Bank of Uganda for all commercial banks to restructure all loans. So I think there's no problem there.
So why do you think they would go ahead and insist that you're not opening the shops, the arcades, for these tenants to reopen and do businesses? What is prompting them to continue putting the tenants under lockdown?
No, actually, from what I'm seeing, most of the landlords, from what I know, most of the landlords right now are actually waiving off some months to all tenants. I started it, but I can see many people picking it up. Because it seems so obvious. These people have not been working. They've been home. They've not been earning. People have been, were being fed by government. Government was providing food to these people. So it's not like these people actually have the money to pay their rent. So it's not a discussion of whether they will pay or whether they will not pay. You just have to open for them, allow them to work, then let business start up slowly by slowly. People will pay the arrears, they will pay properly, but for now, someone has to be understanding. From my point of view.
Let me say some of the arcades that at least I've seen the tenants, they are demonstrating, protesting on the streets and outside the premises, like Mabidi's complex, like Apple complex, and down there at Arrow complex. I just want to understand from you, because you're a landlord, you interact with this business community, what should be the thinking of these landlords? What should be, what is your advice to them specifically? Should they just open? Should they just approach relevant government authorities? What should be the thing? What should they be doing right now to allow these people opening?
Well, this issue between landlords and tenants, it's actually so private between the landlord for a specific building and the tenant for a specific building. Because now, the tenants on some of the buildings that you've mentioned, maybe the landlords are having maybe landlords are not so willing to actually open for them, for their shops, and maybe they want all their rent paid. But the thing is that if you close a tenant right now, a tenant has areas of 3 months. Now, if you close them and you keep them closed and you confiscate their properties, that means that these tenants, you're going to keep their properties in your shop, which is actually going to accumulate more rent. Now, those that have been 3 months, they're going to become 4 months. Now they're becoming 5 months. Now, it will reach a time where people actually no longer demand for their properties because they realize you're demanding them a lot of what? A lot of money. Now, this is a situation where you've actually lost the argument, and the tenant has lost his what? His property. So at this time, what I would advise landlords is that first let people open for them their shops, let them work, and let them start paying that money slowly by slowly. In the meantime, they'll finish all that money.
Now, let's also talk about these tenants themselves, because some of them have been arrested by the police. They continuously protested on Wednesday. They went ahead on Thursday as well as on Friday. What should they be doing? What should they be thinking about themselves as tenants? Should they take legal action? Should they just approach the responsible ministry like Ministry of KCCA and the one of Trade and Industry? What should they be doing for now so that they can also regain their freedom and do business in Kampala?
I don't think tenants right now have an option. And as time goes on, their options are going to become more less and more less. They're not going to be having more options because right now they're being demanded money that they don't have. So in case it continues like this, they'll lose the argument completely because they have nothing to do. So right now, any relief that can come to the tenants from their landlords is actually needed.
Let's talk about the Central Business District reorganizing business in Kampala, because just yesterday KCCA and Ministry of Transport came out and issued guidelines for the border operators. But for the side of business, this arrangement was trying to reorganize transport within the Central Business District. But for the business community, you are part of these people who are operating in Kampala. What should be done to reorganize the business industry within the city center, reorganizing the business operations? What should be done for you as business community? Because why I'm asking you this is we've seen some people trading or playing their trade on the verandas, on the streets. There is a lot of chaos downtown when you move down in the city. And some tenants are complaining that the hawkers are taking their clients away. So what should be done to make sure that also as KCCA, as government, think about reorganizing transport, they also think about reorganizing business in the CBD?
Actually, I think government has already provided rules, including SOPs that were provided months ago to everyone and how safely to do this. You see, we are not operating under normal business days. Right now, there is a pandemic right now that is actually killing people. So what we have to do right now is to follow whatever the government says. Right now, it's very, very important that people actually follow all guidelines that are set by the government. That's what I would advise. Okay,
and also let's talk about this being the campaign and election period, because we know many people are trying to come out and contest. Many times whenever you have elections here, the business community complains that there is some interruption of their businesses in the city. As you, who is part of the business community in Kampala, what would you want to be done to make sure that the campaign period doesn't interrupt your businesses and dealings within the city center?
From my point of view and how campaigns affect my businesses, I don't think there is a big effect on my businesses, because basically for us what we do, we rent out properties to tenants, and those tenants are part of the voters. So it doesn't really affect us that much. The campaigns don't really affect us that much. Whatever comes our way, we can manage. Yes.
Okay, and finally, maybe what I can ask you is about the taxes, the policies that are affecting the business community. We know that issues to do with the land laws, and the taxes. What else do you think should be put in place to ease the business operations within the city for many people who want to do business in Kampala? What are those impediments that you are finding in your business that maybe think that if they are put out of way, business operations within the city will be okay?
Right now, as it is, like I've said earlier on in this conversation, There is a pandemic right now. And the thing is that government has already set for us guidelines. As business people, as tenants, as landlords, as border riders, as tax operators, government has already set out guidelines that are properly planned by government authorities that we have to follow. I think for that issue, we just have to follow what the government says and do as we're instructed.
Okay, and very finally, your word to the Kampala people, those who are operating in Kampala, the landlords, the business community, and everyone who comes to the city to make some money in the city. What's your final message to them?
My message is that we are all part of the same, we are all in the same problem, and we are all in the same pit. All people should be understanding of other people's situations, and we should actually be lenient to others. Especially now that there is a pandemic, we should be really, really understanding of situations.
Thank you so much. That is Haruna Sentongo, is the CEO of Haruna Enterprises. He's one of the landlords within Kampala, and he has been talking about giving him much more information about what landlords and tenants should be doing in this time when we are still battling the COVID-19 pandemic that is affecting the economy and the businesses downtown and across the country. This is Stephen Imbido from Chibuga, been here with Jeff Tracy on camera, but I know previously we've had Rita Kanya and Arnold Segawa in the studios. On behalf of the entire crew and the technical and the production crew, I sign out for now and remind you that, of course, at 9 a.m., Mwasum Cha is coming on with Farida Nakazwe. Just tune in, and of course, tomorrow we shall be live at 6:30 a.m. Keep it here and have a blessed Monday morning.